friends, welcome to another episode of Conversations with a Love Activist. I am Kule, your love activist. Whew, guys, we made it to the end of the year somehow, some way. I don't even know how we got here. 2020 has been incredibly crazy, incredibly triggering, incredibly many things. And for me, it has forced me to really look at how I treat myself and to really integrate self-love tools for myself because I was drowning. And so this week we'll be talking to renowned life coach and relationship coach Shannon Pam, and we'll be talking about how to create practical self-love tools for yourself, because before you can build meaningful, connected, engaged relationships with anyone else, you have to do that for yourself. And then Quentin will be joining us as well, where Shannon will be sharing with us how to work towards a transformational relationship instead of a transactional relationship. So it's going to be a really great episode introducing what we'll be doing together in 2021. 2021, guys, we've got such incredible programs lined up for you. We're going to build this incredible community of radical self-lovers, of heroines in their own lives. So stay tuned, share, subscribe, and let us grow together. I love you.
So exciting! This is unbelievable. When we first met and connected, it was for another project, and a project that actually that I was giving a lot to and pouring into. And I realized as things got quite hectic with COVID-19 and experiencing 3 COVID deaths in 1 week and homeschooling and I was just like, I don't know how to cope with all this stimulation, basically. And I received intuition to say self-soothe. We need to find ways to soothe all these inflamed parts, of you, especially as, the deeper we went into lockdown, the more gender-based violence we saw, the more racial clashes we saw, as we were being called to go inwards, and we were resisting all of that. And so doing these conversations with a love activist became that first step of putting myself first and practicing what I preach in a way, because I'm always like, you can't give what you don't have, give to yourself first, fill up your own cup. And there I was pouring into everybody else but me. So this was a perfect way to give all that time, all that energy, all my creative gifts to something that's going to profit me. And as I walk this hero's journey, I was like, I need to gather my wombs. I need to gather my wise women. Because every heroine that starts on a journey of self-discovery has sages that move them along the journey. And you are one of my sages. You're one of 3 of my sages. And so just tell us a little bit about Shannon Pam and what got you into, the space of coaching, of life coaching. You've been in this space for a long time.
So I will tell you that in a moment, but I just want to say how excited and how honored I am to be walking this leg of the journey with you, because it's just so wonderful to see how even through this time, which has been so difficult for so many, we can find those real gems of wisdom and insight that lead us on path. And when I hear you speak about this, you're lighting up. You're just so, there's just such a need for this right now. There's such a need for these real conversations, these conversations that are about things that matter, Life's too short to talk about things that don't. So I'm just so excited to be having this conversation with you and to walking this next leg with you. So believe it or not, actually, when I was really young, I wanted to be a lawyer. Okay. I really wanted to make a difference in the world. Growing up in a house with my parents, my two sisters, and my cousin, I quickly learned that rules and law does not necessarily always lead to peace and love. And by 12, I had discovered psychology and its power in understanding and changing human dynamics. By 14, I was running what I called weekly reconnection sessions with my family. True story, fully facilitated with agendas, check-ins, and checkouts.
No!
You could say my career chose me. And I'd say by that the following year, I was studying everything I could get my hands on in the way of trying to help people to live their best lives. And I've gone on to study multiple ways to do that. And I've held both national and global roles in people development and in coaching spaces to help people to step into their best selves. So my journey started really young in my teens, but my professional journey probably in coaching started when I started my first business at the age of 17. I ran and led a team of 150 promoters. And as part of that, I had deep immersion and induction programs as to how to build rapport, connect relationships with people that you'd be engaging with in a couple of seconds. Wow. And I was hooked. I was hooked in trying to learn how to connect with one another in deep and meaningful ways. And 3 years later, I joined a global company as their national promotions manager. And I spent 12 years in corporate all the way up to global, mostly in people development. Over that time, I also studied part-time and did my undergrad in both clinical and organizational psychology. And then I went on to do multiple postgrads in facilitation, which is working with groups, as well as coaching. So yeah, I got my international accreditation in coaching and then went on to mentor the coaching students at UCT grad school. And it's been an amazing journey from a coaching perspective. But only in 2014 did I actually leave corporate and focus fully in the coaching and training space. So that's what I've been doing since then, really working with individuals and couples and families and teams and leaders, helping them to deepen their personal growth and relationships.
Ooh, yes, I love it. For me, I feel like I'm like or my experiences with lockdown and all these things that they have been inflamed. I feel like I'm a little bit of a microcosm of what a lot of women and people are experiencing, you know. When lockdown happened, both my business and my husband's business were shut down, and the stress of how we're going to support our family. My daughter had just started school, and then a month later she was back at home. Now we have to homeschool. I don't know how to teach a 5-year-old phonics, and that this symbol translates to this sound. And in fact, the homeschooling journey, I don't know, for other people was quite traumatic for me. I found myself quite being really overly aggressive with my daughter and being overly frustrated. And when I sat down to go, what is this actually about? I realized that all the microaggressions that I had absorbed in my high school experience, I had not dealt with. I was one of very few Black students in my school. And on top of that, it was a Christian school. So there was already a culture of denial. There was already a culture of, masking what's really happening, and also getting into a system that was not prepared for us, especially because I moved from the Eastern Cape and then was thrust into a very new environment. So all those undealt with things came up when I was homeschooling my daughter. I was like, whoa.
Sure. As they do.
As they do, of course. And of course, I mean, my relationship, you know, it's a new marriage. We got married last year, October. We'll be celebrating our 1-year anniversary, actually, in a few weeks. So it was a lot to kind of deal with and to process. A lot of overeating in that first period of time. A lot of over drinking when we still had alcohol at that time.
Before the drought, yeah.
Before the drought. But it just forced me to go, I can't go on like this. I can't go on like this. And I wonder how many people are also experiencing the I can't go on like this, but I don't have the tools and I don't know where to start to self-heal.
Yes.
So what are we going to be doing together? And yeah.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You are not alone.
Yes, God.
I feel it too. Yeah, you really aren't alone. The program that we're going to embark on together is what I call the foundation of love. Mm-hmm. In my 20 years of working in the space of connection, I've found that the extent to which we can truly resonate with another is largely determined by the extent to which we understand and love ourselves. And because of this, I really believe that our most important relationship is the one that we have with ourselves. For it informs the way we show up with others. And it is the foundation. So often when we're struggling to love ourselves, we find a few recurring patterns occur over and over in our lives.
Oh, yes.
And these are the things that we need to be mindful of. You know, the first pattern that we often see is we tend to look to others to fulfill or to fill up those missing parts of ourselves. Yep. And we outsource the role of loving ourselves to someone else.
Guilty is charged.
And very often we do this with others who haven't yet maybe learned to love themselves, let alone love someone else fully. And this becomes challenging. And the second thing we do is that when we don't love ourselves, we tend to make decisions that aren't necessarily always good for us. You know, we can settle for less than we deserve. We tend to want the other person to fulfill us, and when they don't, we get disappointed and upset. We don't speak up for what we want and we need. We don't speak up when something's bothering us, and we tend to end up feeling and being treated with less respect and with less love from others.
Yeah. And
the third thing that happens is that sometimes we feel unhappy because we are almost feeling empty inside, like we've been giving so much to others. We can become the rescuer or the, you know, well, it needs to be about the kids, or it needs to be about my mom, or it needs to be about this, or it needs to be about that. And we give. But if we're not refilling and we're not making sure we're recharging, not just the vessel, but the inside of the vessel too, and all that we are, then what happens is we tend to empty out. And I like to describe it in the way of like an analogy with a cup and saucer. So if our cups are full, then we can overflow with love and others can drink from our saucer. But if we aren't full and the other person isn't full and we're just drinking from each other's cups, we're going to end up with two empty cups.
Oh.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So the first and most important skill to acquire is to learn how to look after ourselves properly. And that means learning what we need and how to meet our needs fully. And in each call, you and I are going to be exploring the level to which different needs of yours are being met, and what might be holding you back from having those needs met. What would help you to better meet those needs? And really that will result in some exercises and some reflections and some practices for you to do between our calls. And and really just helping us to deepen that beautiful practice of self-love. Because when we energized and our minds are calm and focused and our bodies feel healthy and our hearts feel full, then we make the right choices. We attract the right friends. We connect in our relationship in the deep and meaningful ways that we seek to. So I'm so looking forward to next call and getting deep into it.
I wanted to find out during this very strange and opportune time called COVID, what have you been finding has been a recurrent need with your clients?
So the first one is a deeper awareness of what needs currently exist. What I've really found is that we feel the symptoms of needs not being met. And sometimes we employ strategies to try to meet needs, but we don't actually know what is it that we're trying to meet until we understand that we have a deep need for connection. We might act out when we're feeling like a friend's pulling away from us. We might feel like, not going to do that to me. Instead of going, whoa, I actually feel a need for connection right now. And because she's not returning my call, this is hurting me right now. So the first, I would say, insight that I've had is around deepening awareness that we have these universal needs. And there's nothing wrong with having these needs. We need to understand that they need to be met in healthy ways. And sometimes the strategies and the patterns that we've learned how to meet these needs, they're no longer serving us. And the other things that have definitely surfaced with a lot of my clients is a deeper sense of either stress in relationship, because there's now a lot more time together because you're working and playing in the same space. It's like, woo, all in the same, room sometimes. So there's the additional pressure and stress on relationships. So that has become really important to look at. And the other area is a heightened sense of loneliness, interestingly, because you would, and this is not just from my single clients. This is from, some of my married clients as well, feeling a deeper sense of loneliness around, not getting that need for friendship met, and struggling to really connect with extended family online, and the transition into the tech space. And it's been a very interesting time, but also a very reflective time. I feel like a lot of my clients have really just they've deepened into their awareness and into their personal growth journeys in a wonderful way.
Wow. When you talk about the heightened sense of loneliness, for me, the one of the big things I've struggled with is how to support friends who are in mourning. Like I had mentioned, there was a week where three people who are close passed away due to COVID or succumbed to COVID, and the inability to just go and hold people and love people has been such a struggle. Even now, it's such a struggle of how do I support the people that I love from afar? How do I do that in a way that still also replenishes myself and nourishes me, so that I can have the capacity to give, I can have the capacity to love. So this journey is also about that, of I need to fill so that I'm able to support those who are really are struggling, because one thing that COVID has done is inflame a lot of mental challenges that we've been able to mask with our busy lives. Now that things have gone, we can no longer hide our anxieties. We can no longer hide our depression. For me, for example, my first thing that I do when I'm feeling like the dark cloud is starting to gather is I overwork. And now I couldn't do I couldn't overwork, so I found a project to pretend to overwork. Eventually, the more I overworked, the more strain my family was going through, because now I was pouring myself into this thing and not really facing whatever it is that I was being called to face in my relation, in my marriage, in my relationship with my daughter. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that heightened sense of isolation and loneliness. Talking about relationships, I'm going to call my husband, who is who is part of this conversation. A lot of our struggles come with communication, or come from communication.
Nice.
I'm an extrovert, but I struggle to articulate my needs in an effective way. I'm very much an internalizer, and I let things build. And Quentin, on the other hand, if something bothers him, he says it right then and there.
Right.
And it creates clashes, because then I'm like, you're always complaining, you always have issues with something. And he's like, well, but you don't communicate, you don't say. I'm like, yeah, I'm just busy swallowing all my resentment, okay? Learn how to swallow like me.
How can you not read what's going on in my mind? How can you not be a mind reader? Can you not see what's going on in here? Quentin, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's maybe to do with the conditioning that we experienced growing up. On my side, I was raised by a single mom, and communication was key, because she had to know what's going on in my head. I had to know what's going on in her head. Otherwise, we're gonna have problems. So I was raised in that environment where you say how you feel, and the funny thing about feelings is that people don't understand that I can say how I feel, and I can realize that I was wrong later and come back and say I'm sorry. But then fear of not expressing yourself because you're not sure if it's right or wrong. But feelings are not about right or wrong. That's how you feel. So that's where I'm from. And so if I'm not happy with something, I can't quiet about it. It's how I've been. It's not only at home, everywhere else. Yeah.
It sounds like you've learned at a young age that actually it's okay to communicate what is in the moment, and that it's okay if that changes, but it's okay to be in the isness of that feeling. And to communicate that. And it often happens that sometimes we don't necessarily have the words to communicate. So I get what you're saying. Sometimes I'm like, I'm still processing this. I don't have the words yet, which is why frameworks can be so helpful. And why what we're going to do is we're going to look at a framework of 10 needs. And hopefully those will help you to say, in this moment, I'm feeling like I'm having a need for this, and it's making me feel this, and this, because that need's not being met. But the important thing to note is that no one can make you feel something. No one can make you feel something. Very often we feel a big emotion and we think, but you're making me feel this way, or this situation. Actually, what's happening is a need is not being met inside of ourselves, and that is making us feel something. And it's not the other person's fault. Sometimes they can help us to meet that need if we request it in a way that they can hear, and in a way that they're able to. Sometimes they can help us to meet our own needs. But it's really important to get clear, what is my need in this moment? And how am I really feeling? And what is my request? What is my clear request of the other person? So it's very difficult to help one another to move out of a trigger state if we aren't clear with what we need.
Trigger state. Yeah.
We are going to practice, really dropping into truth. And having said that, just so, I'm not sure how much, you're going to share in terms of with your viewers, etc. But there is definitely going to be time where we will have time for you to share stuff that you might not want to share with your full viewership, because any process like this, there's parts that feel very sacred, and it's important for you to have some space for you to drop into that, where the vulnerability can be held in a really safe space that you can then choose with what of that you share. So that would be my invitation to both of you, for us to create space through this journey where there is space for you to share with the world your learnings that feel important, but then also space that feels really safe and really open space almost to drop into deeper levels of that truth where it feels right. Yeah.
You look worried.
We're just like, oh goodness. Here it goes. Anything else you want to share, Quentin? I'm curious.
In terms of?
Just in terms of this journey, or in terms of what you're hoping to get out of it.
I don't know, it's just always the energies to learn, to continue learning and learning, because the things that as a man, it's something that I want to do similar to what my wife's doing, but I want to do something called unmanned, because as I've grown to be an adult, I've realized that all these things about what a man is in reality don't meet. So it's going to be similar to that. I think that this is similar in a way, in that it's about unlearning and learning as well.
It's so wonderful to hear you interested in doing work in that space, because there is such a almost, we were talking about it earlier, just in terms of the heightened gender-based violence, and there is such a almost lack of really strong male role models about healthy masculinity. What does that mean? What does that look like? Within all of us, we all have the masculine and feminine elements, but there needs to be, and there is such a deep need for that masculine voice, and really having hard conversations around what is healthy masculinity, like what does it mean to be a man. And so wow, I'm super excited to hear more about your journey as well. No pressure. No pressure.
Literally every time we mention it, everyone's like, yes, when is it coming? And man.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But what's so special with the two of you, really, in the time I'm coming to get to know you even more, is just how supportive you have been and are being with one another's journeys, and not just your personal growth journey, but the journey into being who you want to be in this world. And we need so much more of that. We need so many more transformational relationships, real relationships that see one another, can be honest enough to say, yeah, that's me. This is where I'm hurting, or this is where I'm struggling. I have not quite mastered that yet, but I'm willing to work on it with you. I'm willing to step in the ring with you. I'm willing to fight for a strong, beautiful relationship with you. And, you know, that is so wonderful and so special. So yeah, just it's inspiring to be around. So thank you for taking the courage to share so much and to step into the space.
Well, we're excited. You know, on Thursdays, funny enough, we have couples counseling with our pastor. And last week, she had said something so profound that she spoke about prophetic marriages, and that our marriage creates generational momentum for healing and prosperity for Mali and generations after that. But it starts with having this healthy, healed relationship where we understand that this is a space for us to really dig deep into our generational wounds, our traumas, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be couples goals and sexy Instagram posts. It's going to be snort and trana. As healing usually.
Real.
You know, it's going to be take off the bra, take off that wig, and like, what just happened?
You know, it's interesting. When I was learning to be a teacher in NIA, which is a fusion of dance, martial arts, and yoga, we learned this concept of being raw, which means relaxed, alert, and waiting. And I think that's such a beautiful invitation into being raw with one another, to be relaxed, so not triggered, not in a triggered state, practice being relaxed, alert, so you're fully present and ready to engage with each other, and waiting for those opportunities to connect deeper, waiting for the truth of that person to emerge. It's such a wonderful state to practice being in. The other thing that comes to mind when I see the two of you is truly an example of more of a transformational relationship. You know, you get transactional relationships, which the if I, then you know, and sometimes you need a transactional relationship, like if you had a shop, you're giving money, you're getting something, it's transactional, it's short term, it's surface. But in our romantic relationships, in our family relationships, in our friendships, we want more transformational relationships. We want relationships that as close connection, as close as we can get, the closer we get, the more chance we get to be ourselves. And it helps us to transform into who we're here to be. Yeah. You know, almost delayering. If you imagine that we've had to wear masks our whole lives in different situations at work, sometimes with our family and friends, we have had to wear a different mask. But in our romantic relationships and even in our deep friendships, we want to be able to demask. Interesting, actually now, because I know we're wearing masks a lot of the time, but we actually want to demask our psychic masks or our, you know, our soul mask. We want to expose our souls. We want to take off the layers of pretend and just learn to be with one another in the raw truth.
Amen. That's a good goodbye.
I'm so excited for this journey with you guys.
So excited.
So excited
for this hero and heroine journey that is running parallel, and we'll have different detours for both of us.
Woo, that was a goodie, y'all. That was a goodie. And imagine, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just us introducing what we'll be doing together next year. So we have so many delicious, wonderful community building programs in store for you next year. So watch this space. Please do share with us how your relationship evolved, grew, what aha moments you had about relationships, any relationship in 2020 in the comments below. Guys, it's cliche now in 2020, but yes, Jesus is alive and made it through by the skin of our teeth. Like, I don't even get how it's already Christmas, but anyway. Guys, I love you. Please share, subscribe, and let us grow this community together of radical love activists. And I will see you next week. Have a Merry Christmas. I hope your Christmas is filled with love and cheer and warmth and connection. We need that right now more than ever. And I'll see you next week for our final episode. It will be a very teary goodbye for the year, but I'll see you soon. We have a lot of great stuff in store for our community next year. So I love you. Have an incredible week.